The starship Dauntless floated at the edge of the Ether Veil Nebula, its silver hull reflecting soft blue light from the gas clouds around it. Inside, the air was full of nervous energy. The crew had spent weeks preparing for their first meeting with the Anthara, an ancient and mysterious alien race known across the galaxy as energy drinkers. Some called them space vampires, though no one had ever actually seen one in person. Lieutenant Mark Reyes sat in the communications bay, trying not to throw up. His hands shook as he looked at the screen that displayed incoming transmissions. His job was simple: translate and transmit human greetings in 46 alien dialects. He was good at his job, when he wasn't panicking. Captain Alara Voss walked in. Tall, calm, and sharp as a laser, she looked like the kind of person who never made a mistake. "Lieutenant Reyes," she said. "You ready?" Mark swallowed hard. "Define ready, ma'am." Alara gave him a dry look. "The kind where you don't faint during first contact." "No promises," he said, forcing a nervous grin. Around the command deck, officers worked quietly, their faces serious. The air was tense. The Anthara were said to be powerful enough to crush fleets, yet they had agreed to meet humans peacefully. On one condition: only one human would speak to them directly. And somehow that job had fallen to Mark Reyes. He still didn't understand why. Maybe because he was the communications officer. Maybe because the universe liked to laugh at him. The first signal came through, a deep echoing pulse that made the lights flicker. The ship's AI translated the waveform into language. "Human vessel. Prepare for visitation." Captain Voss nodded toward him. "All yours, Reyes." He wiped his palms on his uniform and activated the transmission beam. "Human vessel Dauntless welcomes the Anthara delegation," he said, trying to sound confident. "We come in peace and curiosity." The room shook as a bright column of light appeared in front of them. It stretched upward, twisting, forming a shape. Slowly the glow faded, revealing a figure, tall, elegant, and frighteningly still. It was a woman. At least she looked mostly like one. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes glowed faint red, and her long black hair seemed to float slightly as if underwater. She wore armor that shimmered like glass and metal mixed together. Every step she took made a soft chime like crystal against steel. "I am Lady Serath Vakora," she said, her voice calm and melodic, but somehow heavy with power. "Representative of the Anthara Dominion." The humans didn't move. It was like gravity itself had thickened. Even the captain's composure cracked a little. Mark's heart raced. He'd seen holograms of aliens before, but none of them felt like this. The air seemed to hum around her. Serath's glowing eyes scanned the room. When they fell on Mark, she tilted her head slightly. "You are the speaker?" Mark nodded quickly. Yes, that's me. Lieutenant Mark Reyes, Communications Division, representing humanity." She stepped closer and the temperature seemed to drop. Her eyes met his, sharp, analyzing, ancient. It felt like she could read every nervous thought in his head. He could barely breathe. "I sense fear," she said softly. "Do you fear me, human?" Mark's brain blanked. His throat tightened. He opened his mouth, trying to form words. Every logical sentence fled his mind, and then, for reasons unknown even to him, he blurted out, "You have a nice ass." The room froze. Captain Voss's jaw dropped. The navigation officer choked on a laugh and tried to hide it. The AI stuttered in confusion. Mark's face went red like a burning star. "Oh no. Oh no, I did not just say that." He wanted to crawl into an airlock and eject himself into the nebula. Serath blinked once. Her head tilted the other way. For 3 long seconds she said nothing. The silence was so thick it felt like the ship had stopped existing. Then, to everyone's shock, she smiled. Not a cruel smile. Not a fake one. A slow, genuine smile that showed a hint of sharp, metallic teeth. "Honesty," she said quietly. "Such a rare trait among your kind." Mark blinked. "Wait, what?" She stepped even closer until she was barely a meter away. The air around her shimmered faintly like heat waves. "So many humans hide their thoughts behind fear," she continued. "But you speak without filter." "That's one way to describe it," the captain muttered under her breath. Serath's smile widened. "I find it refreshing." Mark's brain was still trying to reboot. Thank you?" "I think." The alien turned to the captain. "This one will accompany me to my ship," she declared. "I wish to understand this boldness." Mark's heart almost stopped. "Wait, what? Me?" No, I think you want the captain or Sarath's eyes flashed a deeper red. No, the human who spoke without fear. He will come. Captain Voss opened her mouth to protest, then stopped. The diplomatic agreement had a clause. The Anthara could invite one human representative aboard their vessel as a guest. Denying the offer might be seen as an insult. "Lieutenant Reyes," she said, looking like she regretted every decision that led to this moment. "You've been selected." Mark stared. Selected for what exactly? "To not die during negotiations," she said flatly. "Hopefully." Sarath extended her hand, palm up. It glowed faintly as if made of starlight. "Come, human." "Do not fear." Mark hesitated, then slowly placed his hand in hers. Her skin felt cool, smooth like metal, but somehow alive. The moment their hands touched, a soft hum filled the air, and his vision blurred. He felt himself being pulled, not roughly, but gently, as if drifting into a dream. The last thing he heard before the light swallowed him was Captain Voss muttering, "God help him." Mark awoke in a chamber that looked like nothing built by human hands. The walls were made of translucent crystal that pulsed faintly with color, like living veins. The air was clean, too clean, and it smelled faintly of ozone and something sweet like burned sugar. He sat up on what looked like a bed but was shaped more like a cocoon. His stomach turned. "Okay, definitely not Kansas anymore," a soft voice echoed. "You are unharmed." He turned. Sarath stood near the doorway, her long dark hair now flowing freely. Without her armor, she looked less terrifying, and somehow more alien. Her eyes glowed brighter in the dim light. I think I'm fine," he said carefully. "Just mildly terrified." "That is natural," she said. "The weak fear the unknown." "Then I must be the weakest man alive." Her lips curved again, that strange half-smile. "And yet you spoke boldly before your captain." He rubbed his neck. "Yeah, about that. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to. I just panic talk. It's like my brain hits random sentence generator when I'm scared." Sarath moved closer. "You apologized for honesty. Why?" "Because I accidentally complimented a very powerful alien being in front of my entire crew," he said. "That's not exactly diplomacy." She studied him quietly, her expression unreadable. "Among my kind, fear is power. Those who make others tremble hold strength. But you trembled, and yet you spoke. That is different. Different bad or different good? Different intriguing." Mark wasn't sure how to take that. "So what now? Are you going to study me or something?" Her eyes gleamed faintly. "Perhaps. Your kind interest us. You burn brightly yet briefly, so full of emotion, so quick to anger, laugh, and love. We feed on emotion, yet yours is chaotic." "Glad to be entertaining," he muttered. She ignored the sarcasm. "Tell me, human, why do you hide fear behind humor?" He hesitated. "Because if I didn't joke, I'd probably scream. And screaming in diplomacy is bad form." She tilted her head. "You use laughter as armor, fascinating." He gave a weak smile. "And you use glowing eyes and psychic powers. So fair trade." That actually made her laugh. A soft melodic sound that made the walls vibrate slightly. Mark blinked in surprise. For a moment she seemed almost alive. Not a cold alien predator, but someone curious. Maybe even lonely. When she stopped laughing, she looked at him seriously. "Perhaps this meeting will teach us both." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, maybe it will." She turned toward the doorway. "Rest, human. Tomorrow you will see our world, and we will see what kind of creature can turn fear into humor." As she left, the crystal walls dimmed, and Mark lay back, staring at the glowing ceiling. His heart was still racing, but now there was something else, a strange excitement. He had just told an alien vampire woman she had a nice ass. The morning light inside the Anthara ship was soft and pale, but it made Lieutenant Mark Reyes squint. The walls around him pulsed gently, almost like they were breathing. He had been given a small, simple uniform to wear, black with faint silver trim, fitted yet flexible. He felt like he was in some kind of alien fashion show, except everyone was judging him silently. He stepped out of his room carefully, trying not to bump into anything. The floor was smooth but not solid. It seemed to shift slightly under his weight, like walking on a trampoline made of glass. The ship itself was quiet, alive with soft hums that vibrated in his chest. From somewhere ahead, a melodic voice called, "Lieutenant Reyes." Mark looked up and saw Lady Sarath Vakora floating toward him. Not walking, floating. She moved as if gravity was just a suggestion, gliding across the ship's corridors with grace. Her hair floated behind her like dark smoke. "Good morning," Mark said, trying to sound casual. "I didn't sleep at all. I think your ship might be haunted. Or maybe it's just me." She tilted her head slightly, one eyebrow raised. "You slept in a cocoon chamber designed to rest the body and calm the mind. And yet your mind remains chaotic." Mark rubbed the back of his neck. "Chaotic is my brand. You should see me in the kitchen. I almost burned water last week." Sarath made a sound that could have been amusement or curiosity. "Humans are unpredictable. You said something yesterday. Unusual, yet it caught my attention." Mark froze. "Oh no, here we go. You mean the compliment thing?" Yes, her crimson eyes glowed faintly. It was bold, unexpected, honest, and it revealed much about your species. Mark swallowed. "That was a total accident." I panic-talked. Icerath raised a hand, cutting him off. "Accident or not, it shows courage. Humans speak when they feel, even if it is unwise." Mark blinked. "So you liked it?" "Not liked, observed, studied, appreciated." She stepped closer. "Your kind is strange. You frighten yourselves, yet your fear strengthens you. It is intriguing." Mark nodded, though he didn't fully understand. "Glad I could entertain. I should charge admission." They moved deeper into the ship. The corridors twisted like a labyrinth. Some walls were translucent, showing glowing energy flowing through pipes like rivers of light. Occasionally he caught glimpses of other Anthara moving silently in the shadows, their pale silver skin gleaming, their eyes observing. "Do they all feed on fear?" Mark asked cautiously. Sarath's expression darkened slightly. "No, we feed on emotion, fear, anger, joy, laughter. The intensity fuels us. But most of my kind consume fear exclusively. It is easier." "Easier? That sounds lonely." "Exactly," she said softly. "They grow strong yet empty. They isolate themselves thinking fear is power. But they are blind to the truth. Emotion is connection, not control." Mark tried to think of a response. Instead he said, "Sounds complicated." "It is," she admitted. "And your kind is chaotic. Yet you create connection even through weakness. That is rare." They arrived at a large chamber at the heart of the ship. The room was circular, with a ceiling that shimmered like a living night sky. Energy flowed beneath the floor in glowing streams. At the center floated a holographic map of the galaxy, rotating slowly. "This is our council room," Sarath said. "And here you will learn much about us." Mark looked at the map, feeling small. "So you guys are galaxy famous, huh?" Sarath's lips quirked. "Infamous, perhaps. Many fear the Anthara. Few understand us." Mark leaned against a railing. "Yeah, that seems fair." Suddenly, one of the doors slid open. A group of Anthara entered, their forms elegant, intimidating, and cold. Their eyes glowed faintly, scanning Mark with suspicion. He realized they weren't smiling, not even a little. "Lady Sarath," one of them said, a tall figure with sharp silver armor. "Why bring a human aboard? You know our tradition. Humans are unpredictable, unstable, and weak." Sarath's eyes narrowed. "I brought him because he is not weak. He is different." The silver-armored Anthara stepped closer. "Different? He is chaotic and reckless. He will disrupt the council. We cannot allow it." Mark's stomach lurched. "Oh, great. He's going to get me killed for joking about a butt." Sarath moved between them, her hand glowing faintly. "He has qualities we no longer possess. Humor, honesty, courage under fear. We need to observe him, not destroy him." The tall Anthara stared, then huffed and stepped back. "This is unorthodox," Mark muttered under his breath. "Unorthodox is my middle name. Well, not officially, but it should be." Sarath ignored him. "You will join the council discussions," she said. "Not as a delegate, but as a lens. We will see ourselves through your kind." Mark blinked. "I'm a lens? That sounds dangerous." "Not danger to you," she said calmly. "Danger to them." He took a deep breath. "Right, because humans are scary in ways aliens don't understand." She tilted her head. "Perhaps. But most of you are surprisingly resilient. And stubborn, that is valuable." Mark couldn't help a small grin. "Stubborn is my specialty." Along with panic-talking, apparently. The Anthara Council began their meeting. Mark watched, fascinated. They spoke in clicks, hums, and glowing pulses, translated by Sarath's device. He realized that most of their arguments were not about territory or resources, but about emotional energy. How it should be collected, consumed, and shared. They are dying, Mark said quietly to Sarath. I mean, I've read your files. Your species is running low on energy. Yes, Sarath admitted. Our methods isolate us. We grow strong but hollow. That is why I observe humans. You mean, you want to learn from us? She nodded. Your kind thrives on chaos, yet you survive. You create connections, trust, laughter. That is energy we have forgotten. That is why I brought you. Mark swallowed. So, you think my panic talk could save a species? Sarath's smile was faint but real. Perhaps it can. The council continued, growing tense. The silver-armored Anthara whispered to others, clearly displeased. They were traditionalists, believing that strength came only from fear. Mark, sitting awkwardly in the center, suddenly had an idea. Wait, what if, instead of trying to scare each other, you, shared emotions? Like humans do? The room froze. He hadn't meant to speak aloud, but the idea was out. Sarath's eyes widened slightly. Explain, humans. We don't just feed on fear or anger. We experience joy, art, music, humor. We share stories, smiles, even mistakes. That energy makes people strong, in a different way. Maybe you could try that? The council murmured among themselves, a sound like wind through metal pipes. The traditionalists hissed in disapproval. Sarath leaned closer to Mark. You are suggesting empathy as sustenance? Yeah. I mean, not exactly, but kind of. I don't know, it's just, humans are weird, but it works. Her glowing eyes softened. Your kind may be more useful than I realized. Mark relaxed slightly. Glad to help. I'm good at weird, apparently. The council adjourned for a break. Sarath motioned for him to follow. They walked down a corridor lined with glowing energy streams. You are clever, she said. You see patterns we ignore. That is why I observe you. Mark shrugged. Or I just blurt stuff out and hope it works. You do both. And both are effective, Mark laughed quietly. So, I'm like an accidental genius? Sarath's crimson eyes gleamed. Perhaps. Chaos has its uses. As they walked, Mark realized something important. The Anthara were powerful, dangerous, and alien. But they were also incomplete. They lacked connection. And somehow he felt that with his human chaos he might be able to teach them something they had long forgotten. A small spark of confidence warmed him. Maybe panicking and saying something stupid wasn't a disaster after all. Maybe it was the start of something. Incredible. Mark Reyes had never felt so out of place in his life. Sitting in the center of the Anthara council chamber, he looked around at dozens of alien faces, pale silver skin, glowing eyes, and expressions that ranged from curiosity to suspicion. The room hummed with energy, literally. The floor glowed faintly, pulsing under his feet. Lieutenant Reyes, Lady Sarath Vakora said, floating in front of him like a ghost of black silk and red light. You will teach us, show us how humans live, feel, and connect. If your species is truly what I have observed, you may hold the key to our survival. Mark took a deep breath. Wow. That's a lot of pressure, and I'm just a guy who panicked and said something stupid yesterday. He swallowed. Okay, let's start simple. Humans experience emotion. All of it. Happiness, sadness, fear, love, anger. And we share it. Sometimes through words, sometimes through art, music, stories. It makes us strong because we connect. A murmur went through the council. Some leaned forward, others leaned back, obviously disturbed by his words. Sarath's eyes softened. And you believe sharing emotion strengthens the Anthara? I think it could, Mark said carefully. I mean, fear makes you strong in one way. But humans get stronger through understanding each other, through trust, through laughter. Even mistakes make us stronger. One of the traditionalist Anthara, the tall, silver-armored figure from before, hissed. Foolish human. Emotions make weakness. Only fear keeps us alive. Mark leaned forward. Maybe fear isn't the only way to survive. Maybe it's the wrong way. If you rely only on fear, you miss everything else. Connection, teamwork, joy. Those things matter too. Sarath studied Mark carefully. He speaks truthfully. And yet, he is human. Weak in body, perhaps, but powerful in spirit. Mark smiled nervously. Thanks. I think, anyway. The first lesson is simple. Share a memory. Something important to you. Something that makes you human. The council members hesitated. None spoke. The atmosphere was tense. Mark could feel their judgment. the weight of centuries of tradition pressing on him. He decided to start small. "I'll go first," he said. "When I was a kid, my little sister was scared of thunderstorms. She hid under her blanket shaking. So I did something kind of dumb. I grabbed a flashlight and made shadow puppets on the wall. I told her stories about brave knights and space explorers." She laughed. "We stayed up late, laughing through the storm. That memory, it gives me energy, happiness, connection. That's what humans share." The chamber was quiet. Then, one by one, faint colors began to glow along the walls. The Anthara equivalent of recognition, or maybe emotional resonance. The traditionalist stiffened, but Sarath's smile grew. "Interesting," she said. "The human is small, yet his emotions radiate." Mark nodded, encouraged. "Exactly. And you can experience it too. Close your eyes, feel it. Imagine being with someone you care about. Joy, laughter, worry, fear. Share it, even with yourself. That energy is real." The council hesitated, but some of them tried. The chamber filled with a faint warmth. A subtle vibration pulsed through the floor. Mark could feel it like a heartbeat. "Good," Sarath said softly. "We begin to understand." Days passed and Mark's lessons continued. He taught the Anthara songs, simple games, and even laughter exercises. At first, the council resisted. Traditionalists whispered, hissing at what they called weakness. But slowly the Anthara began to glow brighter, more vibrant. Their energy was no longer cold and hollow. It vibrated with emotion. Mark noticed something else. The Anthara were changing. They moved more fluidly, smiled faintly, even argued playfully instead of aggressively. They were learning connection. "You humans are remarkable," Sarath admitted one day as they walked down a corridor. "You survive chaos and danger with humor, creativity, and courage." "That is strength we lack," Mark shrugged. "We just mess up a lot and hope for the best. Works more than you'd think." She gave him a faint smile. "Perhaps this is why I brought you aboard. You teach us more than we could have imagined." Then trouble struck. The traditionalists had grown restless. They believed Mark's influence was weakening the Anthara. One night they launched a small assault on Sarath's quarters, trying to reclaim control. The alarms blared. Mark, waking in his cocoon room, felt panic spike through him. He ran into the corridor and saw the chaos. Anthara clashing, energy sparks flying, red eyes glowing in anger. Sarath appeared above him, calm but serious. "You must act human," she said. "Your strength. Your chaos. It can save us," Mark gulped. "Chaos? My specialty." He realized what he had to do. He ran toward the fighting, raising his hands. "Hey, stop! Listen." At first, no one paid attention. He ran into the center of the room and shouted the first thing that came to mind. "If you kill each other, we all lose. You're stronger together. Think about what you've learned from me." The chamber went silent. Every Anthara froze, listening. Mark continued, panting. "Remember happiness, joy, laughter. That's real strength. Fear is only one way. Connection makes you better. You feel it when you try." Sarath's glow intensified, matching the pulsing energy beneath the floor. Slowly, the traditionalist's eyes softened. They looked around, hesitated, and then, one by one, began to feel the emotions Mark described. Some of them laughed softly. Some even shared stories with each other. Mark's heart pounded. "This is actually working." Sarath floated down beside him. "You are extraordinary human. Through panic and humor, you have done what centuries of our people could not." The chamber's energy surged. Colors pulsed through the walls, brighter than Mark had ever seen. The Anthara traditionalists were overwhelmed, not by fear, but by connection. The species that had relied on terror for centuries were learning trust, laughter, and shared strength. Mark smiled, exhausted but triumphant. "I didn't expect this. Honestly, I panicked yesterday, and now, look at us." Sarath's red eyes glowed warmly. "Chaos is a gift. You humans have shown us that even in fear you can create beauty and power. That is why you survived and thrived." The next morning, the council convened again. This time it was different. Anthara faces were brighter, their movements less rigid. The traditionalists approached Mark with a mixture of respect and curiosity. "We have learned," one said. "Your kind. Your methods. Show strength we lacked. We see now that fear is not the only source of power." Mark grinned. "Glad I could help, and, try not to eat anyone out of fear anymore?" Sarath laughed, a sound that echoed like music through the ship. "We will honor your teachings. We will thrive differently, all because one human spoke honestly despite fear. Mark shook his head in disbelief. One panic-induced compliment. And a lot of yelling. That's literally how this worked. Sarath stepped closer. Do not underestimate the value of honesty, human. You have changed us. You have saved a species through courage and connection, something your people do naturally, though you seldom realize it. Mark felt a strange pride. Not because he was powerful or brave or skilled in battle, but because he had been human. Imperfect, chaotic, honest, and resilient. That had been enough. Weeks later, Mark returned to the Dauntless. The crew cheered, though they still whispered about his butt comment that had started it all. He waved sheepishly. Sarath appeared on the holographic screen before him. Her crimson eyes glowed gently. For the record, she said, her voice calm and warm. Your honesty was never an insult. It was essential, Mark laughed. Glad you finally get it. And, she continued, the Anthara will never forget the human who panicked, spoke boldly, and showed us a new way to live. Mark leaned back in his chair. Well, I guess that's one way to make an impression. The ship's AI chimed and the human crew celebrated quietly. Humanity had not only survived first contact, it had changed an entire alien species. And all because one man panicked, spoke honestly, and reminded them of something simple but powerful. Human courage and connection are stronger than fear. Mark Reyes smiled, thinking of his little sister, thunderstorms and shadow puppets. Somehow it all made sense now. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't weapons, technology, or strategy. It was their heart, their honesty, and their willingness to connect, even in the face of terrifying unknowns. He closed his eyes for a moment and whispered to himself, not bad for a panic-induced compliment.